What's going on there, YouTube? And welcome back to another comic book video. This is the channel where we sit down and cover different comic book stories from different comic book companies. Today, we are going to jump back over to DC Comics, and we are going to continue our coverage over the New 52 and pick up with Supergirl once again. And this time, we are actually going to cover the actual origin of Supergirl in the New 52, with Supergirl number 12, 13, and Supergirl number 0. Now, with these three issues, when I say we're covering the actual origin of Supergirl, I'm meaning that everything that took place right before Krpyton, and also her learning how she arrived on Earth. And so with that, I do hope you enjoy today's comic book video. And if you do, please hit that like button down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But I do hope you enjoy today's comic book video. To begin today's video, we pick up with Supergirl number 12, where we see Supergirl meeting up with Superman. Now, when she does, you do have Superman actually showing Supergirl the bottle city of Kandor. Now, Kandor first appeared in the New 52 Action Comics run written by Grant Morrison. Grant Morrison was trying to rework the origin of Superman, but either way, he did introduce Brainiac, a being that went across the universe collecting different species as a way to study them, but to also collect them. And so what Brainiac did was he took a whole town from Krpyton, of course being Kandor, as a way to collect them, but to also study them. And so Superman was able to defeat Brainiac and bring the bottle city of Kandor to his fortress of solitude. Now, the reason why he is showing Supergirl is because right now Kandor is still trapped inside that bottle, and the people of Kandor are kept in some kind of stasis. Superman has no idea how in the world he is going to be able to help those people out so that one day they can be free again. But the reason why Supergirl is actually here meeting up with Superman is because she wants answers. Because let's not forget, in the beginning of the New 52, when she met Superman, she fought against him. And the reason why, because the way he introduced himself, saying that he was Kal-El, her baby cousin, and when she saw him, he was a grown man, she was highly confused. And then he went on to say that, listen, Krpyton is no longer around either. And so the reason why Supergirl is here is because she wants answers. She wants to know what happened to her in Krpyton. How was Superman able to age, but she wasn't? Now, this begins the big mystery of what happened to Supergirl. Why in the world did it take her so long to arrive on Earth? And that is when you have Superman say that he was able to gather some kind of information from Brainiac's ship and other sources on Earth, where he says that for some strange reason, when Supergirl left Krpyton, she did not head straight towards Earth. She headed toward the sun, and she was stuck in space near the sun this whole time. That is why she never aged, but also explains why she was stronger than Superman when she first arrived on Earth. Because when she arrived on Earth, she gave him a beatdown, and the reason why, because she was so close to the sun, and with her being like a living battery, she was able to get more energy faster than Superman, who's on Earth farther away from the sun. Now, you do have Superman say that something had pushed her pod away from the sun and it finally brought her to Earth. The question is now, what pushed her pod to make it finally come to Earth? But on top of that, he said, when it came to your ship arriving on Earth, it broke into multiple pieces. One of those pieces actually fell into the bottom of the ocean. And matter of fact, that piece right now apparently grew and is sending out a signal that Superman's Fortress of Solitude had picked up. Unfortunately, Superman has not gone down there to investigate. Now, he does tell Supergirl to stay here at his Fortress of Solitude as a way for him to go look and see what in the world is going on at the bottom of the ocean. But of course, she wants to go down there without him. She only came here to him to get answers on why in the world it took her so long to get to Earth, but honestly learn what happened to Krpyton as well. But either way, they do get into an argument because of Supergirl. It seems like Superman is trying to hold her hostage or hold her as a prisoner. But in reality, it's him want to keep her here because still she has no idea how the Earth works. And she is a dangerous being to have around on Earth. But of course, he lets her go to the bottom of the ocean to see what is happening down there with that piece of her pod. Now, while Supergirl is heading towards the bottom of the ocean, I do want to bring up one thing about Supergirl. In the New 52, a lot of fans kind of had a hard time reading Supergirl. They loved her story, but they hated the character because when it came to Supergirl in the New 52, she was completely different from her pre-New 52 counterpart because this Supergirl was more aggressive, impulsive, and also dismissive. And that was a problem for a lot of fans when it came to the New 52 Supergirl. But either way, when she was able to reach the bottom of the ocean, well, that is when she is confronted by some kind of monster. Now, with this monster attacking her, of course, she begins to have a hard time fighting against it. Now, this monster is not even important for the storyline. Honestly, it's just DC saying that with her being able to reach the bottom of the ocean, we have no idea what kind of creatures are actually down there at the bottom of the ocean. But either way, this monster was able to knock her out very easily. Now, when she wakes up, that is the moment where she actually sees a fortress underwater. Of course, this is going to be her Fortress of Solitude, but in the bottom of the ocean, which is very huge. Now, with her finding this fortress, she's wondering how in the world was this even possible? How in the world did this thing grow out of her pod? But on top of that, she does hear a voice, a computer voice, calling her, telling her to come closer and closer, to come inside the fortress. Which of course she does go inside to hopefully learn more about what in the world is going on here at the moment. But here comes the problem though, someone else is also inside the fortress, because as she gets deeper and deeper into the fortress, another voice calls out to her, and this voice turns off the computer voice and tells Supergirl to come where he is at. Now Supergirl is able to realize that she does recognize the voice, but unfortunately she's having a hard time putting a face to that voice, and so she does go deeper and deeper into this fortress to hopefully learn more about who in the world is in the fortress with her. Now, as she gets closer, this person who is right now hiding his face does ask her, can you please not try to punch me? Let's try to talk first and hopefully work together to figure out how in the world your fortress arrives. And that is the moment she realized who's down here with her. Of course, it's Simon Tycho, the first guy she fought against at the very beginning of the New 52, the one that captured her to learn more about her, but she was able to escape. The problem was when she did escape, she thought he had died when she blew up his space station. But of course, he found a way to survive. And so he is the bad guy of the story once again. Now, you would think that we would jump into Supergirl number 13, but actually we're going to jump over to Supergirl number 0. And the reason why, because back in the new 52 era of DC Comics, DC used 0 issues as a way to kind of give us origin stories of different characters and teams in their comics. And so with Supergirl number 0, we're really getting an origin story for her character, but it's going to focus on her father Zor-El the most, because Zor-El is very important in the origin of Supergirl and everything going on with her. We actually pick up before Krpyton blew up, and we pick up with the father of Supergirl, Zor-El. Now this is the point where Krpyton is only a couple days away from being destroyed, and also that he and Jor-El, Superman's father, don't get along, but he realized that his brother is right. Krpyton is going to die soon, but we also see that Zor-El is doing some kind of experiment on Supergirl. At this moment, she is in some kind of testing pod where he's making sure Supergirl is ready for whatever he is planning on doing, except he is hiding this plan from his own daughter while working on her. So she has no idea what is going on. We get more proof of that when she wakes up and doesn't remember going into the pod. He told her he was doing some scans on her to make sure that she is ready for her trials, which is a nod to something Supergirl mentioned in an earlier issue, that the last thing she remembered was getting ready for the trials of Krpyton. There is something else I do want to point out, is that the world killers that Supergirl had fought earlier are in the lab of her father. It was said that her father was the one who created the world killers, and of course, we now have proof. That's an example that he has been doing some kind of dark work that was supposed to help save Krpyton from different things, but nothing he has can really save the planet of Krpyton because he was not ready for the end of his planet. Speaking of projects to hopefully save Krpyton, we actually dive into Zor-El meeting up with the Science Council, where he is talking about his Argo project, something else we saw in an earlier Supergirl comic. It was when he made generators that made a force shield around the city of Argo, so it will survive after the planet is destroyed. It worked, but when we saw Argo, there was no one in the city while it was flying in space. But this is the moment we get reminded that Zor-El and Jor-El are not talking to each other at all. The reason why is because Jor-El learned that Zor-El was doing certain projects that Jor-El knew were wrong, and that what led into their argument and made a rift between them. Now things get more interesting because Supergirl mentioned that her father did some kind of test on her, scanning her genes, and Jor-El knows that Supergirl's father is doing something, and Jor-El really wants to talk to his brother before the end of Krpyton happens. Now we actually do jump over to Zor-El, and we see Zor-El being confronted by his wife Alora in his lab. Now the reason why Alora is here is because they have another meeting with a different council. But Zor-El does not want to go because he wants to finish this project. Now, he will not tell his wife what he is working on, but when another tremor happens, she begins to freak out because these tremors are basically telling everyone on Krpyton that the planet is about to be destroyed. But only Zor-El and Jor-El know about that. And so you do have Zor-El say that he knows what the tremor means, but he won't tell Alora what they mean. He just says, you have to promise me that you trust me, that my project is going to work. And that is it. And so he's not telling her that Krpyton is about to go bye-bye very soon. Now we do see Supergirl and Zor-El arriving at the lab of Zor-El, But in this lab, we actually see him holding the space pod that brought Supergirl to Earth. And so we know what is about to happen next. But either way, Supergirl does not have a clue what's about to happen next, because she is so excited when she sees her Supergirl outfit. Because on Krpyton, the outfit actually means that she passed her trials. And so right now, to her, she's basically holding what she believes is her completing her trials. But in reality, it is going to be a suit to help protect her as she travels to Earth, her new home. And so you do have Zor-El afraid what he has to do next to his daughter. Now, we actually do pick up with Alora, and the reason why, because Alora just found out what her husband is planning on doing to Supergirl, which is sending her to Earth. And so you have Alora get upset, but that is when she is confronted by someone who looks just like Superboy. Now, this is very confusing and very strange, but honestly, it does get answered later on down the road. But for right now, this mysterious character who looks like Superboy has just told Alora that he can help her save her daughter. We actually pick up with Zor-El and Supergirl next, where we actually have Supergirl right now modeling out her new outfit because she's very happy what she just received. But that is when she begins to feel very sick. And that is all in Zor-El's plans, because he was hoping that Supergirl would pass out and he'll be able to put her in the pod to send her to Earth, because he knew if he told her what his plans were, she would fight back against him. On top of that, he wants to make sure that she knows the reason why he is doing this, why he is sending her away, because Krpyton is going to blow up soon. And so he put his only child into the pod as a way to save her. And then he begins the process of talking into a sunstone. And remember, we saw a sunstone in an earlier video. A sunstone gives someone the ability to record a message on it and then pass that message on to someone else. And so he is hoping to put a message on this sunstone as a way to make sure his daughter knows everything about Krpyton and why he sent her away to Earth. But while he is basically talking into this message, well, that is when he is shot from behind by someone else. And we come to find out that it was Alora who shot her husband in the back. And the reason why, because Alora found out that her husband is about to send their only child away to a different planet. But on top of that, he has been keeping so many secrets from her. And so while you have the two of them kind of discussing why in the world he's doing all of this for, Zor-El was able to hit the big red button. And of course, that red button begins the process of closing the pod around Supergirl and sending her to Earth. And so Alora had to say goodbye to her daughter like that. But on top of that, right when Supergirl left Krpyton, that is when Krpyton blew up. And so that is how Supergirl number 0 ends. And there is a reason why we covered this issue, because it fits perfectly into Supergirl number 13. Now we do jump over to Supergirl number 13, where we actually pick up with Simon Tycho again, the bad guy from the first Supergirl story in the New 52. Now the last time Supergirl saw him, his space station blew up and he was supposedly killed. But at the end of that storyline, we came to find out that he survived and his people put his body inside the living brain, a creature that he made and we saw in that first story. But either way though, he is here now, live and well. And the question is, why is he here? Another question is, how in the world did he get inside this place? And on top of that, what is he planning on doing with this place and Supergirl? But of course, with Supergirl being more aggressive, impulsive, you do have her begin the process of trying to fight against him. but all of her moves are not working. He's able to adapt to her moves so easily. But on top of that, there is another reason why she's unable to beat him. But we'll dive into that later on. Because you actually have Simon Tycho say he wants to help Supergirl understand this fortress to learn more about it, starting off with another sunstone that was left behind by her father. Now you do have Supergirl try to grab the sunstone away from Simon, but that is the moment he begins to play the message throughout the hall. Now this message is literally the same message she heard from a different sunstone in an earlier issue of Supergirl's run in the New 52. But the only difference between that message and this one is she comes to find out who shot her father, because in the other sunstone, the last thing she saw was that her father was shot by somebody. Now with Supergirl number 0, we know it was Allura. And so with Supergirl number 13, this sunstone tells Supergirl that her mother was the one who shot her father. And with this message playing throughout the halls, that is the moment she begins to remember everything that took place right before Krpyton. And that is very huge for her. Now Simon is also telling Supergirl that there's other sunstones in this room, and the other sunstones do more than just playing the same message over and over again. It gives Supergirl information about Krpyton, and he says that he was actually able to gather the information off those sunstones thanks to his new ability by being combined with the living brain body. But either way, he's still saying he's having a hard time going into different parts of the fortress because they're blocked off, and the fortress only answers to a particular voice. Of course, that voice would be Supergirl. And so when she begins to talk to the fortress, of course, the fortress automatically begins to listen to Supergirl, which means Simon was right. The fortress only answers to her. But here comes the thing though. Simon is a bad guy, and so he grabs Supergirl and he tells Supergirl to tell the fortress to do whatever he wants, to make the fortress obey him. Now remember what I said earlier when it came to Supergirl fighting against Simon, how he was able to adapt to her so easily. But there was another reason why he was able to beat her so easily, because now you have the two of them fighting against each other and he is able to beat down on her so easily. And the reason why, because with them being at the bottom of the ocean, away from the sun rays, but on top of that, in this fortress as well, she is losing energy from the sun that makes her Supergirl. And so right now, she's in a very weakened state, which of course gives Simon the ability to just beat her down. And of course, him wanting her to go ahead and tell the fortress to listen to him, to follow his orders. And so Supergirl must think of a different way to actually defeat him this time. And so that is the moment you have Supergirl realize that the fortress only answers to her, which is very important, because if the fortress only answers to her, the fortress could most likely have some kind of defenses as a way to help protect Supergirl. And so you have Supergirl ask the fortress, do you detect anything in here that is not Kryptonian? Of course, that would be Simon. And then you have Supergirl say, can you please get rid of him or deal with him? And that is when you have the fortress out of nowhere turn Simon into some kind of crystal, putting him inside a crystal where he is alive, but he is now kept in some kind of stasis. And so that is how Supergirl was able to defeat Simon so easily. But right after she does that, again, she begins to think about her father, her mother, what her mother did to her father, what her father did to Supergirl. It's her thinking about everything that happened in Supergirl number 0 and now. But right now, she does feel kind of alone on the planet Earth because she still does not trust Superman at all. But that is when she remembers that she does have one friend on this planet. Now, with her having the fortress was able to connect to other people across the earth through computers. And so with that, she does talk to the one friend she has, which is Chiffon. Remember, Chiffon is the white banshee in the New 52, and Chiffon is an actual ally of Supergirl. And of course, it makes Supergirl remember that she is not alone on the planet Earth at all. But also, that is the moment the Fortress tells her that, hey, we have a Kryptonian fighting against something else that's from Krpyton. And you have Supergirl asking the Fortress, what do you mean? And of course, the Fortress shows Supergirl that Superman is fighting against a monster that is actually from Krpyton. And so with that, Supergirl wants to know what in the world is going on with that monster and her cousin. But this leads us right into the big crossover event with Supergirl, Superboy, and Superman, known as Hell on Earth. And so with that, we're getting closer and closer into covering that huge crossover event. So I do hope you enjoy today's comic book video. And if you do, please hit that like button down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But I do hope you enjoy today's comic book video.